Hello, and welcome to Essential Arthauz. This month, I'm taking over the airwaves to talk to you about another one of my all-time favorite films. You may remember my enchanting voice from our video on Eraserhead by David Lynch. But today, I will be taking us 25 years into the future into a much more realistic world with vibrant color and, in some ways, an even darker perspective. I present to you Morvern Callar by the one and only Lynne Ramsay, a rather esoteric director whose 30 years of filmmaking has only culminated in 4 completed feature films, the other 3 being Ratcatcher, We Need to Talk About Gavin, and You Were Never Really Here. I say completed because she is notorious for her creative differences with Hollywood, walking away from films like The Lovely Bones and Jane Got a Gun for being uncompromising in her narrative opinions. But if your first 2 short films out of cinematography school were jury prize winners at Cannes, you'd probably trust your gut too. By the way, both those shorts, Small Deaths and Gasman, are free to watch on YouTube, so don't pass them up. Now, if you haven't seen any of her films, you probably are a happy person. Well, on behalf of Lynne, I'd like to coldly introduce you to her world of dark thoughts, numbness, and images that will permanently haunt you. And Morvern Callar is just the woman to embody that quintessential balance of the defiant feminist identity and psychological torment. In the days after discovering her husband's self-mutilated body on the floor of their bare apartment, Morvern decides to fully abandon her life of domesticity. Stealing authorship of his novel as well as the money he left in the bank for his funeral, she hides the evidence of her husband's suicide and goes on a spring break-esque trip to Ibiza with her best friend Lana. But as Morvern copes with her corrupted self-image, she begins to embrace the opportunity to explore new identities that could take her even further from the reality of who she actually is.
Holger. Holger.
That's a lot to unpack. Since I have both academic and deeply personal associations with this film, my attachment to it makes it hard to do a compact discussion of it. I mean, from its thematic endeavors to its intimately technical portrayals of those themes, it's truly an impressive feat of filmmaking. But beyond that, it has an emotional pull that just clicks. Without multiple viewings and focused scrutiny, it's possible to miss the subtle conveyor belt of personas Morvern takes on, or the multisensory direction applied by Ramsay, or the various other elements that make these sequences of music, color, and internal conflict the story that I love. I mean, I literally can't count the number of roles Morvern takes on interchangeably depending on the scene. There's the grocery store worker and the writer, the best friend and the betrayer. There's the tourist and the traveler, the widow and the psycho, Morvern and Jackie. She's clearly scrambling just to be somebody, but her inability to settle becomes the very nature of who she is. And Ramsay burns the image of Morvern's loss in our heads from the moment the film starts with that beautifully horrific flickering light, which we're forced to remember as if accidentally throughout the film. In accordance with Morvern losing touch, Ramsay also manages to expertly characterize her through micro-actions, the most prevalent being that of Morvern trying to feel something, like literally, with her hands. Like in this shot, or this shot, or this shot, or this shot. When you put it all together, it creates a wildly unstable environment, making Morvern's life a haptic narrative. The word haptic in regard to film refers to a visual style that parallels the narrative, functioning on a sort of predictable randomness, somewhat out-of-place images that are made relevant through editing and narrative context. Prime examples in Morvern Callar would be the various jump cuts during party scenes and the use of disjunct audio and video, not to mention the distinct separation of internal and external universes. As the film plays out, there's not a typical rise and fall, rather just a disjointed, drawn-out degradation of Morvern. Without concise conflict, the resolution is the fact that she seems to leave Scotland for good, fully committing to a new life, whatever that life may be. As much as I'd like to take credit for this idea of hapticism, I've actually sourced it from a very interesting article by the 20th century literature and cinema scholar David Trotter called Lynne Ramsay's Ratcatcher Towards a Theory of Haptic Narrative. This may all sound like a bunch of over-analytical bullshit to some of you, but it's important to know that that's the kind of bullshit that's the driving force behind lots of current cinema, like the Safdie brothers or David Lowery. And it's also an adaptation of styles developed decades earlier from people like Jean-Luc Godard and Chris Marker. While sometimes it seems boring or weird that a bunch of 20-somethings are coming at you with an in-depth analysis of the use of hands in a movie, just know it isn't purposeless. Without studying these films in an occasionally erudite manner, and without filmmakers like Lynne Ramsay giving Hollywood the finger, film history would stop. Morvern Callar is a great film because Ramsay cares about film without compromise. And likewise, we at Arthauz are telling you to watch Morvern Callar, even if it is boring or weird, because we too care about film without compromise. So what I guess I'm trying to say is,
Just get over it.
and that's what makes Morvern Callar an essential Arthauz film.